This is the fourth video from my winter training project. I'm adding narration to these videos for all of my friends who don't train or race horses to give them some idea of the processes we go through to create race horses. Everyone does things a little bit differently, and I'm not a complete expert, but I'll give you what insight I have into the process. Week by week, for those interested, I hope you'll understand the reasoning and see the progress for these horses. So today I'm a little bit behind on my recording and editing, and this was from last Saturday, and I'll be editing and posting it now on Friday, a day before I train again, tomorrow. Today we have two sessions. The first session you'll see is with my yearling fillies. So it's a trotter and pacer, as you may know from before. And earlier today, they jogged together. We played a little follow the leader with one of Joe Pavia's horses from another barn. Joe didn't go as far as we did, so when he dropped out of our pack, we decided to brush the last quarter at a quicker rate to get them better prepared for the training that's coming up very quickly. When I start the timer, you'll see it come up in the upper left-hand corner, and this will clock that last quarter for these two fillies. I'm driving the pacer, and Alan has the trotter. So some history. When we started out with the trotter, she didn't have much action up front. She barely lifted her front feet off the ground, and she was interfering. Now for a racehorse, interfering is when one leg or foot hits another leg, foot, or knee. So this filly was scalping and forging at first. These two types of interference refer to when a horse's front foot hits its back foot, either on top or back foot hitting the front foot underneath. And this often causes pain as well as bad habits, and it just needs to be fixed. In order to fix it, one of the initial remedies you do is you add more weight to the front feet. So we had her reshod with some heavier shoes, and we put some bell boots on her. And this helped her. It helped her to break over more quickly, as well as to lift her feet higher in the air to clear those back feet before the back feet came forward. So this has been going fairly well for us to this point. Now, today you'll notice that as we're putting more speed on these horses, and when she passes me down the stretch here, you'll see that her front feet are coming awfully high, almost up to her knees. And I'd prefer a horse that didn't have that much rolly action. So I decided to change their shoeing and make the shoes lighter. And the only way to know whether that was a good idea or a bad idea is to see how it works later. So after this training trip, my blacksmith switched out her shoes to a lighter shoe, and we'll see how that goes going forward. This was a good day for the two fillies. They came home really well. They came home in about 44 seconds, which is faster than a 3-minute mile pace would be, which would be 45 seconds per quarter. The second session of the morning was with my 2-year-old colt, Unhinged Impulso. So he's getting ready for his 3-year-old season. Now I'm training him with a friend of mine from another barn who has a filly that also is a 2-year-old, which is on about the same schedule as I am for a return to the races in their 3-year-old years. Now the last time we trained, I cut the mile, which means I led the mile and was the one reading the watch, and Wayne's horse was sitting behind me the whole way. This week, Wayne will cut the mile and set the pace for us. We often switch back and forth so the horses can learn how to cut a mile or how to follow and relax in what we call a hole, and then accelerate out of that hole to make a challenge at some point in the race. You might notice through this training trip with my colt that he gets a little bit steppy, meaning he becomes unsteady at the pace and threatens to make a break. He's pretty competitive and has a history of being a little bit over-aggressive and outpacing himself. He's also a horse that wears a pretty short hobble. Now, hobbles are equipment that we use on pacers to ensure that their left legs move forward at the same time and that their right legs move forward at the same time. And that's what defines a pace. When we started this year, I tried to lengthen his hobbles, which encourages a longer gait, which often equates to maybe better speed. But it prepares that this little guy prefers to have a shorter hobble on. So the other thing you might also note is that his head's a little bit low, and I didn't take it up. I forgot to take the extra snap link out before we trained. But that also helps him to become a little more aggressive, and he likes to dip his head when he gets aggressive, and kind of affects his gait. So next time I come out, he'll have a shorter set of hobbles on, and then he'll also have that overcheck up to hold his head up. Now that overcheck, that's another piece of equipment. If you look at a racehorse, a standardbred racehorse, and what you'll see a second bit in the horse's mouth, and then that bit is connected over the top of his head through his bridle back down to the harness. It's kind of like a leverage point to hold their heads up.